Yes, yes, we are live. We are live for the Backlash 2025 preview. This is African King Academy. But before we get into the wrestling and all that, co host, introduce yourself.
Yo, what's good? You may have forgotten who I am. It has been a millennial since I've last been on this show. But we're here. I'm alive. I'm doing well. King's been cooking. King's been putting out some legendary content, some legendary WrestleMania content. Look, Backlash. It's a pay per view. What can I say? No matter how bad the product is, if we're committed to the cause, if we love wrestling, we're still going to be semi excited for Backlash. I'm looking forward to it. Just as WrestleMania, though, even though the build has been very underwhelming, and underwhelming is once again a massive understatement, I still think Backlash as a show should be decent. And compared to WrestleMania, the bar is so low, I think they'll just be able to jump over it. But King, thank you for bringing me back on. I'm looking forward to it and should be another good show. And I'm talking about this show, not Backlash itself.
Yeah, I feel like the issue with Backlash was too soon after WrestleMania. I feel like they need to do better with the scheduling of their shows because in order Backlash is normally meant to be the return leg of everything going into WrestleMania, but out of WrestleMania, they changed every single kind of storyline. Most of it isn't. Most of the matches on the card aren't like return legs of matches that we saw at WrestleMania or continuing the story. It's like they started new stories, and if you're gonna start new stories, you need at least a month and a half to be able to get people invested into these storylines. And I feel like with this card in particular, I am not invested in majority of the matches or the storylines. And especially considering the main event, what it's going to be, it's upsetting because this is probably going to be the last match of two great legends, and I do not care. But we will go through the card. I'm gonna pop it up here. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Now, these are the five matches that are on the card, and as a Triple H pay per view card, it's always like five matches, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with because it leaves the pay per view to be a couple hours. You don't have to be around for too long, and I like it in these kind of formats that the major four are the ones where you get the longer pay per views, the longer run time. So these are the five matches now. The issue I have is that these are the matches. Now the first one we talk about is Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. Now it's a weird one. It's a weird one because going into WrestleMania and Dom winning that IC title, pinning Finn Balor, his fellow Judgment Day stablemate. You would expect that to be the storyline going forward. Now, there's been some tensions between them two, but it's not been to the level of which we've seen where it's made any real sense. It feels like they haven't explored it enough. Obviously, JD McDonough coming back without Finn knowing, Finn feeling like he is his own piece when it comes to the Judgment Day, but I feel like it needs a change. I feel Judgment Day needs a breath of fresh air because why liken Judgment Day is to this to Bullet Club, and what Bullet Club does is after some time they refresh the stable. They get rid of the guys that are getting pops. They move them on to other things. For me personally, I think Dominic, Liv, and and Raquel Rodriguez, them three should move on to something else. Even maybe
Preach.
even a Carlito. I feel like seeing AJ with Finn again and with JD McDonough coming back, I feel like they need them three should be the start of a new Judgment Day. Get rid of Dom and others because I feel like Dom is starting to get cheers. Dom is starting to be liked. So when you have someone who's starting to get over in that sense, and you saw it at WrestleMania, they were cheering for him when he won. Then the fans are noticing that the work that he's putting in. So make him his own star. Now, the other issue I have is that against Penta, and this is the same issue I have with SmackDown, is it's always Latino versus Latino wrestlers. They're doing this. Triple H are doing the same thing again and again. It's always the Latinos against each other. And Penta is a great superstar, and I think he's going to be very entertaining. I think this match is going to be a good match, but for me, I just feel like it needs to have something to do with the Judgment Day involved in this storyline. Maybe Dom gets screwed. Maybe Finn's the one that doesn't. Maybe certain people get kicked out. Maybe there's a changing, because there needs to be things to push things forward. And in the long run, I would love Penta to win a title, but maybe it's a bit too early yet. For me, a Penta needs to win a title in a SummerSlam, in a Big Four pay-per-view, where it means more, because then you can crown him as your new guy, rather than one of these smaller pay-per-views where not many people are going to check into it. I think the viewership around this one's going to be relatively low, and I feel like right now we're at a low point when it comes to WWE. But Agastya, what do you feel about this match? What are your opinions? How do you feel about Dominic Mysterio and Penta going into this match?
Yeah, you 100% said it. I completely agree with everything you said. Death, taxes, and the luchadors fighting the luchadors. That's been the way, not just under HHH, but also with Vince. It just seems this perpetual cycle, just like the Middle East, conflict between the same people, conflict between the luchadors. Dominic Mysterio, Penta, you're right. You made a very good point on timing. I think timing has been a big problem. Having your first pay-per-view post WrestleMania, basically 2.5 weeks out, is very short. You're never going to be able to have the depth to establish any feuds properly, especially, as you said, King, which is a tragedy. The last time we see John Cena versus Randy Orton, which is the feud of the generation, at least the superstars of their generation go at it at Backlash with no substance at all. It's been rinse and repeat, the same segment 2 or 3 times in a row. So there's really been no core to the actual content here. When it comes to Dominic Mysterio and Penta, the exact same thing. I mean, let's not forget, they also did fight at the Raw after WrestleMania. So this is the exact same match that happened at the Raw after WrestleMania. You mentioned Finn Balor and breaking up the Judgment Day. I want to add real quick. I know you mentioned my predictions side by side during your WrestleMania preview/review shows. Up until the last few matches of WrestleMania, the Logan versus AJ Styles, I wasn't a predictor. I wasn't a spoiler. I was a prophet. I called every single thing point for point, bar for bar, whether it was the Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman heel turn, all the way to Dominic Mysterio pinning Finn Balor. I was on the money. I was precise. So, hey, some can say I'm arrogant here. I'd say I'm accurate. I'm not arrogant if it's factual. That's all I got to say here. But yeah, Dominic Mysterio pinning Finn Balor, for me, it felt like a wet dream for creative then. Why? Because it does 4 things. A, finally, we know Dominic Mysterio is going to get the push he deserves. He has insane amount of heel heat, and unlike others like Logan Paul, for example, that's not heel heat because of baggage outside the company. That's heel heat because his character is beautifully orchestrated. It's beautifully executed. So it was about time that, hey, they were going to push him. Except, as we saw after he won his title at WrestleMania, we didn't expect that heel heat to instantly transform into heroic heat. Or not even heroic heat. Yeah, a heroic sense. That's what Dominic Mysterio came. And I think the perfect example of that was after he won the match. When he won the title, he obviously celebrated as normal. He went on the ring and on the ropes. He left the ring and then he ran back right after. And that was because Triple H told him to, because nobody anticipated that round of applause, that standing ovation. That was unprecedented. In fact, that was unparalleled. I'd make the case that was probably the loudest ovation on night 2. That was a night 2 match, if I'm not wrong, right, King? I think that even superseded Cena beating Cody as well, which is nuts. So kudos to Dominic Mysterio, who, by the way, is a very beloved guy in the back room. And I know Rey Mysterio, his father, there is kayfabe tension there. But today, the lines between kayfabe and reality are so blurred. I know he was so thrilled and proud of his son. So it's great to see Dominic Mysterio in this position. However, yeah, the booking for this title, just as it was before WrestleMania, all the mid-card titles have been disregarded. They have been completely dismissed, degraded, and minimized. There should have been a feud between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, or at least some catalyst to escalate it. You mentioned it, King. there have been moments when they have shown there have been tensions, but those tensions should have amounted to something more than just teasing. Maybe a trailer, maybe actually some infighting, because as you said, King, there needs to be some refreshing element of this faction, the Judgment Day, which obviously they started off with Edge, and then they had Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley. Last WrestleMania, I think they held the world title, both world titles, the leaders of the faction. But come this time around, it just feels like the Judgment Day, as much as Liv Morgan has, in my opinion, been the women's superstar of the year, and I know she was awarded that, they don't have the panache or the aura or the presence that they did previously. So this match, to me, it just seems like a filler match. We know what's going to happen. We know Dominic Mysterio will retain that championship. And then perhaps at the end of it, again, we'll get a tease between Finn Balor and him, build up heat, which unfortunately I think WWE are going to drag out till maybe even SummerSlam. Because knowing what Triple H has done with the mid card division, I don't think there's any direction. So yeah, when it comes to this match, I think that there will be interference. You know, Carlito, JD McDonough, who have JD McDonough, by the way, let's add, he's come back as a face after that incident that he had on Raw many months ago. He's come back as a face. So again, the guys that were hated are now revered, which is pretty cool to see. But at the end of the day, the bottom line, what's going to happen on match number 5, according to Wikipedia, Dominic Mysterio will win due to interference. But again, they will continue to tease Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio, something that they have been teasing for over an eternity.
Exactly. And I feel like it's needed. I think a refresher Judgment Day is needed. I don't want them to move to a face group, so I feel like Dominic can, and I said Liv and a couple of them guys move on, and then you return to maybe a Finn, JD, AJ Styles, a heel type group, especially because Karrion Kross has been trying to get into AJ Styles' ear as well. So I feel like Judgment Day always has to be a heel group or a rebel group in essence. So, but
Hold
we'll
up,
see.
can I interject real quick?
Yeah,
Because
no
I know
problem.
I won't get a chance to mention this throughout the show because he's not on the show. Karrion Kross, that promo after WrestleMania, that pipe bomb, my goodness, not only was it precise in terms of execution, in terms of content itself, one of the best promos I've ever seen in my life. Period. It was authentic. He broke the fourth wall. It was unbelievable. And that promo not only was just brilliant, I think it's a template for any WWE superstar. Do you know who is number 1 in shirt sales today, King?
No, but I did hear he was up to top 3. Is he number 1 now?
He is number 1 now. Yes, he has eclipsed Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and taken that number 1 spot. Think
Yeah,
about
man.
that for a second. A guy who's not even featured on Raw, on SmackDown. He's solely in backstage segments. He is number 1. So surely a push is imminent because WWE and TKO, I'm sure we'll get into this later, has been so corporatized. Anything that really favors into the revenue will be rewarded. So Karrion Kross, I agree with you. I think it is a perfect layup. It's a layup, uncontested layup for Triple H to form a faction between AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Karrion Kross. All 3 superstars who are wildly talented, especially the first 2, but their careers have been derailed during post pandemic, basically. So yeah, I agree with you, King. I think that would be a tremendous creative decision.
I don't think Karrion Kross is going to be a part of that faction, but there has been something that happened recently. There's a group called the Righteous. They're these 2 guys that were removed from AEW recently. So them 2 with Karrion Kross would be something that I would be interested in seeing, because I feel like Karrion Kross with the Righteous, it makes sense. Because he said in one of his promos on Twitter, he's the or on the backstage, he's the devil you know. And that's what I like about him. I like the fact that he can have a group, his own separate thing, not the Judgment Day, his own separate thing that are there just to show you who the real devils are. And I like that. And him with the Righteous would be something I would be interested in if they sign with WWE. But we move on to the US title Fatal 4-Way. And pretty much what they did is they took the US title match, they took the Damian Drew match, and they said, put it together. That's all they did. They said one match, one WrestleMania match, another WrestleMania match, and they just put it all together now. The match itself is going to be great. It's probably going to be the only 5-star match in that card just because of the talent that they have. Jacob Fatu, all gas, no breaks. LA Knight, yeah, Damian Priest and Drew. they all have the ability to go, and they've shown it over the past year. But in terms of investment in the US title, the only thing that can come out of this is maybe dissension between Fatu and maybe Solo Sikoa. But outside of that, I feel like this is beneath Drew. I understand Drew wants to be a Grand Slam champion, but he deserves more. He's world title material. Damien, I think Damien needs a refresh. I feel like his character is stale and boring right now, so he needs a refresh. And LA Knight needs something more than just this as well, because he just lost the title. You can't just if let's say Jacob Fatu wins the match again, LA Knight needs to move on to a different brand. Maybe go for the IC title. Maybe go to a different show, refresh himself as well. Because I feel like outside of Jacob Fatu, all these three men feel like they need to be doing something different. Drew should be main event, and to be honest, I feel like it should have just been Jacob versus Drew, because Drew had this thing where he wanted to be the one taking down the bloodline, and they just stopped it. They just stopped it. They held it. They holded it, and I feel like that should have been his storyline going into across this year. Him systematically taking out every member of the bloodline, both new and old, eventually culminating in him going after maybe Jay as the world title holder as the final piece of his puzzle, because that's the one thing that's probably eluded him is the world title ever since he had it in the era where no one was there in the COVID era. So for me, I just feel like they just threw it together and they said, and they probably just told these four men, you got probably 15 minutes ball out and see what happens, and probably Jacob will retain. But what do you think about this match? These four guys, what do you think? What do you expect next for these four guys, and going forward after this match, and what you reckon the result will be?
Yeah, so briefly on the match, real quick, before I get into that, I think it'll be chaos, carnage. It'll be compelling, like as you said, King. I think to me, it will be the match of the night by far. Not even close. As a matter of fact, I could make the case that it's probably going to be the only good match. Maybe Lyra Becky is up there as well, and Dominic Mysterio and Penta, but there's going to be abundance of interference. I think it's going to be a great match. I think it'll last probably 20 to 25 minutes, maybe, just because the other matches won't be too long, especially the main event and Pat McAfee versus Gunther, of course. I agree. Similar to the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, this match is great because it's not going to hurt anyone necessarily. Whoever, Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, whoever loses, you're not going to be hurt because you don't have to take the pin necessarily. I think Damian Priest will and should take the pin, King, as you correctly pointed out, just because his character is the most stale. Also, he was in the main event scene last year. None of the other guys were in the main event scene last year, which is astonishing because you would make the case that they're also three of the better guys in this match. As you said, Damian Priest lags behind in terms of reach, revenue, ratings. His character is stale. It's not really revered amongst the crowd. It's unoriginal. He's almost like big dog Roman Reigns, except even with less aura, less accomplishments, and doesn't make bank for WWE. So Damian Priest, I think he needs time off. He's been great for the better part of a year. He's been very involved. He's participated in a lot of matches, but for Damian Priest, take some time off, come back, revamp, revolutionize your character. On to the next three. LA Knight, I agree with you. He's been on SmackDown for a while. He's been perpetually involved in this US title picture for so long, whether it's with Logan Paul, Shinsuke Nakamura, Jacob Fatu. I think his time to exit this picture is right after this match because it is way overdue. And I agree, if there is a draft happening, hopefully they stick by the draft and the draft is actually rigid and they're not really lenient with it because drafts have become very useless and negligible these days. But yes, LA Knight should go to Monday Night Raw. He should probably pursue a Intercontinental title match, maybe with Dominic Mysterio. That would be a nice picture, and then you can get Finn Balor involved as well. Who knows? And then slowly make his way back up to the top. Maybe he wins the Money in the Bank. That's something you can consider as well. Or is it 2 years too late? I think LA Knight does deserve one, at least main event title push, and the World Heavyweight Championship would make a lot more sense than the world title itself. So LA Knight for Damian Priest, I think it's overhaul your character. LA Knight, it's move to Raw, work your way up to the main event, and contend for the World Heavyweight Championship, which I think is certainly possible when Seth Rollins wins that title soon. And when it comes to Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu, I agree with you, King. Drew McIntyre deserves better. Just like Liv Morgan, to me, last year, he was one of WWE, not just WWE, frankly, wrestling's most outstanding performers. A-tier in the ring. You can make the case he was the catalyst. He was the best part of the trifecta, that love affair triangle between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre. He was the best component of that. And he's not just A-tier in the ring, by the way. He's not just putting banger after banger after banger after banger after banger, as his close friend Sheamus would say, but he's S-tier on the mic. He is unbelievable on the mic. And I think when a WWE superstar is good with their rhetoric, good with their results, but not just that, when they can read the room, that's what separates great among the greatest. And last year, Drew was among the greatest in WWE. So I think he deserves a push. He deserves to hold the title, win the title, and hold the title for a while as well. But that's exactly the reason why I don't think they'll do it, but I think they should definitely consider him winning this match tonight, because I don't see him getting another shot at that Grand Slam, as you alluded to, King. I don't see him getting another shot for a while at that Grand Slam, and this is a great opportunity to have Jacob versus Solo finally escalate. Maybe you have Jacob versus Roman at SummerSlam as well. So keep an eye out for that. Drew McIntyre could win. It could be his best shot at the US title, because I don't see him floating in the mid-card picture for a long time after this. And also, at the moment, if he loses this match, what are his opportunities to get into the main event scene? Because Cena is occupied. Cena will probably be, after Randy Orton, he'll be occupied with maybe AJ Styles, or we know he'll be occupied with CM Punk over the summer. Cody Rhodes is speculated to return as well. Drew McIntyre has no opportunity there. Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. I mean, you could have Drew McIntyre beat Jey Uso, and then you could have Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. That could also work. But so Drew McIntyre, there are a lot of opportunities. With Jacob Fatu, I do think he will win this match tonight, just because, again, he just won the title. And if I was booking Jacob Fatu, what I would do is I would make him a badass. I'd make him the brutal badass. I'd make him the outstanding performer. I know they're teasing this Fatu versus Solo Sikoa split. I wouldn't do it just yet. I'd have Fatu pin Damian Priest to win this match. I'd have Fatu hold the title all the way to SummerSlam, where maybe he faces someone like Roman, for example, who takes the title off him. I would just make Fatu look like a badass and prepare him to be one of the next faces of the company. So, yeah, bottom line, what I do is Damian Priest, new character, overhaul LA Knight to Raw, Drew McIntyre, make him look good, potentially win the title, but not yet, and Jacob Fatu wins it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's some great stuff. We move on to the next match: Pat McAfee versus Gunther. I'm gonna let you lead this one this time, because I have a few things to say about it, but I want to hear your point of view first before I go. What do you feel about this match? What do you feel about the build up to it, and what is your opinion on what's gonna happen?
For Gunther, who's next? That's my opinion. Who's next? Goldberg. I think that's what's happening. I think it's pretty obvious that's what's happening. They've teased that for a long time. Goldberg has said he's ready for his retirement match. I think McAfee versus Gunther could go one of two ways tonight. A, Gunther beats the shit out of Pat McAfee, which will probably happen. Or B, similar to Gunther when he had that feud with Alpha Academy during the Jey Uso rivalry, Pat McAfee will get a couple spots in. He'll look badass. He'll have some good, commanding, masculine moments. Hey, that guy, the fans guy, he's kind of over with the crowd at the moment as well. You saw the promos he's delivering, which is better than like 99% of the roster, by the way. Let me add Pat McAfee. But it's going to be a quick match for sure. It's just going to end up in one of two ways. Either Gunther wins, and at the end of the match, Goldberg comes out, setting up the scene for Goldberg versus Gunther, which could be a 3-match program. Or B, again, that match goes on for 10 minutes even, because Pat McAfee can fight. He's a very versatile athlete. He's a football player. He's played football professionally. We know his NFL roots as well. He was obviously in NXT as well. This guy, Pat McAfee, is one of the greatest athletes out there, at least in terms of versatility. So it could go on for 8-10 minutes, and then Goldberg interferes to save Pat McAfee's ass. Either way, I do expect Goldberg to appear tonight, and if he doesn't appear, it will be Gunther domination.
For me, I'll say it like this: in terms of Pat McAfee, I don't think it's necessary to have a commentator be in a wrestling match. I think it's just taking food from someone else's plate in terms of the wrestlers and actually having proper matches on the card. And he's a great voice, Pat McAfee. He's a great voice, but for me, I do not care about this match. I do not care for Gunther versus Goldberg either. I I think Gunther, ever since he lost the IC title, has been booked horribly every step of the way. The fact that
Preach.
he lost his faction, so he isn't a ring general. He hasn't got soldiers. Ludwig Kaiser's doing nothing because of it. If Ludwig Kaiser was gonna move on, put him in the IC title match or IC title hunt. The other guy, Vinci, moved to SmackDown, did nothing with him, released. Then Gunther, Damian Priest. Oh, Damian
No,
Priest.
no, that was not what you think it was, King.
What was it?
No, it wasn't a YouTube reel, by the way, that
Oh
I
my
opened by
god.
accident just to check that the stream was going on. No, it was not what you think. No, I do not watch that.
No. It's just
I'm
because the
not.
noise just came into my ears. I was thinking, what the hell was that noise?
No, let me clarify. I'm not Xavier Woods, guys. I'm not Paige.
You're a fool. Big up, big up, big up.
Of course, Eggman appeared at the worst time, bro. Of course, you and me, Eggman, there's some chaos that happens.
Oh, rated. Xavier Woods. Anyway, no, as I was saying with Gunther, for
That
me,
was not what was gone.
the way they treated him against Damian Priest, where they made him look weak, I didn't like that. The feud with Jay, I didn't like most of the aspects of it except for what he did with Jimmy. For me, I feel like Gunther as a character has been let down by Triple H ever since he lost the IC title. His world title run was lackluster. This is lackluster. I do not care about Goldberg. His old ass should stay retired. And for Gunther, I feel like he deserves more. And for me, if this was leading to Gunther versus, let's say,
Oh,
I
that's great.
appreciate
Let's
that.
start
I
after the rest
appreciate that.
you have no idea what just happened, and stay that way. Nothing happened,
Yeah,
Eggman.
nothing happened at all. But
I'll
for
see you
me,
soon.
Gunther, if he was gonna have a match going forward, I would have loved to it been Brock Lesnar, but because of his situation, it isn't gonna be that. That's the type of match that Gunther should be having, because his best matches are against guys that can go in the ring. Your Drews, your Sheamuses, your Ilya Dragunovs, guys that can handle his extreme level of fight. You know, guys that just want to beat the living piss out of each other. Even his match against Damien was good because he has that ability to do that. So for me, this match right here is a waste of my time. It's not worth the money. And it was, and I was this close to canceling my Netflix subscription just because of this match right here. So as far as I'm concerned, I will not be watching it. I'm not gonna watch this pay-per-view live. I'm gonna be watching it after the fact, and I'm skipping through this match. I do not give a damn about this match. I do not care what happens before, during, after. The only thing this match is probably gonna do is make sure that Pat McAfee's off TV for a while because he probably has to do his college football thing. But apart from that, I do not care. That's
Yo,
all I got.
what happened to then, now, forever together, King? What happened to that, man? None of
No,
that's
man,
fair. No, I'm kidding.
no.
Can I-
Big nose. This is to you, big nose, and you know who you are. Yeah, Mr. H. Stop putting on these Banduli matches on these pay-per-views. You did it for WrestleMania, wasting my time, and this is a waste of time. I don't like, what story is this telling? Goldberg, I do not care about Goldberg. Him, Hulk Hogan, Sting, all the Undertaker, stay retired. This is a new era. We're tired of these old men wanting their one last match. And there's more I gotta say about that, because that's what I feel about the main event as well. These old men wasting my time anyway.
Oh, I agree with you, hot take, but let him go real quick. You made a very good point on Gunther. Yeah, where did Vinci go? Man turned obsolete. Man turned into the Hardy Boys obsolete. Where did he go? He just completely disappeared after Ludwig Kaiser beat the shit out of him. Speaking of Ludwig Kaiser, where did he go? You could have tied him in with Tiffany Stratton if you wanted. I think he would have been a great enforcer for Tiffany Stratton because
Yeah,
Tiffany, with all due respect, is not the greatest on the mic.
yeah.
And as Charlotte correctly pointed out, but although Tiffy did get the last word and the last part of that feud, so we'll give Tiffy credit there. But Ludwig Kaiser would have been great with uh, Tiffy Stratton. But on Gunther, I agree. I think they have booked him ridiculously awful. It has been bullshit. It has been crap. I think the last 2 weeks of that feud, the moment Jimmy Uso entered that Jey Uso feud, those few weeks up until WrestleMania, I think they booked Gunther post to perfect. That's what they did with Gunther. Gunther doesn't need to be a victim. I don't understand why they had this whole victim narrative for the end of 2024. It made no sense to me. What Gunther should be, as you said, is the ring general, the king of the ring, the vicious, the psychopathic heel, because that's who Gunther was, embracing, literally living in blood. Living, loving, seething in blood. Make him be Dexter and Joe Goldberg on steroids. Make him be chaotic. Make him be psychopathic. Make him be cruel. Make him be Norman Bates-esque. But what did they do? Instead of making him Norman Bates, they made him tap. They made him submit. They made him submit to Jey Uso, which, come on, is wildly unrealistic. It makes absolutely no sense. And obviously, it's not like they're going to do anything with Jey Uso's character for that either. And I think the match itself could have been better if Jey Uso finally pinned him. But that's fine. They've ruined Gunther's character. What they could have done after WrestleMania with Gunther is they could have actually had it very similar to Karrion Kross in a way. Where I like how the one thing with Triple H, I'll give him credit, he breaks the fourth wall really well. I love how the lines between face and heel are being blurred, and now characters are allowing to express themselves, relate, and be personal with the audience. What Gunther could have done is he could have been like, hang on a minute, you guys have I've not been given the opportunities I deserve. Just like Drew McIntyre, just like Karrion Kross, bunch of people out there. You're picking people for corporate reasons, not for competitive reasons. You're picking people out there for revenue, not for merit. That's fucked up. Look at John Cena. What's he done? You can tie into that. So what Gunther could have done is Gunther could have been vicious. He didn't have to be Pat. It didn't have to be Pat McAfee versus Gunther. What it could have been is Gunther slaughtering everyone in the back room, backstage. He could have slaughtered Pat McAfee. He could have slaughtered Michael Cole. He could have slaughtered Joe Tess. He could have even gone to one of the guys back there, Bobby Roode, for example. And then he could have slaughtered some of the lower cards, some of the mid card, because that would elevate them. That would give them screen time. And then someone in my wrestling sim, we were just talking about this before the stream. I play wrestling sim, not an endorsement. Wrestling sim is the equivalent of Football Manager. I would recommend everyone download that game. It is a beautiful game for booking. I had Gunther versus Brock Lesnar for SummerSlam as well because I thought that made complete sense. But because you can finally put Gunther over as the next motherfucking badass of your sport. But instead, they're going to do Gunther versus Pat McAfee and the Goldberg, which, King, I want to point out, that's not what I want. I don't want to see Goldberg because realistically, even if it is a 3-match program, those 3-match program is not going to last more than 9 minutes in total. Any of those matches are not going to last 9 minutes in total. So they should have just made Gunther relentless and ruthless, destroy everyone, and then bring in someone like a Brock Lesnar, for example, to tame him down, but still be unable to tame him down and Gunther win. But I don't know what they've done with Gunther. I just hope by the end of SummerSlam, we can revitalize that image of Gunther being, hey, the heel, the vicious heel. Because, man, he's not bad in the ring. And as you pointed out, he has chemistry with a lot of opponents, like Dragunov, for example.
Exactly. But we move on because we move on to another match, which I feel like is too soon. I feel that everything that's led up to this match for me has rubbed me the wrong way. You got rid of Bailey from WrestleMania to put this lady in. Not to turn at WrestleMania, to do it the Monday after. Cool. You have Becky Hill, she has some good promos, and then she gets this match for the IC title. Now, for me, The women's IC title match should have been at WrestleMania instead of the tag titles. You just recent releases has gutted out the women's tag team division. So women's team titles are, as far as I'm concerned, null and void. Half of the champions are going off to do movies and stuff in terms of Liv Morgan, and hopefully she's successful with that. But this match, for me, with the proper build up could have been a SummerSlam match. Could have been a match that would have elevated the title. But right now, this is just a match that I do not, another match that I do not truly feel invested in at this moment. I don't know nothing about Lyra Valkyria to care for her as champion. And for me, Becky Lynch has been a character that has been stale for a little while now. Obviously, she went away for a bit, mummy duties, and she's come back as the man. But for me, this heel Becky doesn't really do much for me. Uh, and whatever way it goes, let's say Lyra wins, it boosts her up a little bit, cool. But if Becky wins, it doesn't do anything for me for the title in the long run. Especially since you released the likes of Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai ladies that could have gone for this title. You've pretty much slightly gutted out the division. And a lot of the women in the mid card aren't being showcased on Raw or SmackDown for me to care who's going to be next. Let's say Becky Lynch wins this title. Who's next? What, Bailey? I've seen Becky Lynch v Bailey already. I've seen the 4 horsewomen again and again and again. I don't need to see them anymore. I need you to give me new people to care about. The women's division on Raw SmackDown isn't good enough, because if you look at the NXT women and look, you have a couple women that have come up in terms of Roxanne and Julia that can go for this title, and it makes sense. But instead, you're using the same tired old Becky Lynch that I didn't like before she left. I don't like now. For me, her and Seth are the same thing. They're just there all the time, and they get annoying, and they have the same silly music, and people sing along to it, and that's all they are. They're just music. They're just a theme at this point. And no matter what you do with them, you heel, face, put them in a group, do something, they're not gonna be the guy that I care about that much. Because in the women's division, I'm gonna care more about a Rhea, more about a Bianca, more about a Liv than a Becky. When it comes to Seth, I care more about a Roman, care more about a CM Punk. I even care more about a Drew than Seth Rollins as totality, as a character. Because I feel like you push them too much in my face to the point where they annoy me. And once that gets to that point, it's apathy, not enjoyment. And that's what Becky Lynch is. I'm apathetic to the character that is the man. I'm apathetic to the character that is Seth freaking Rollins. And there's parallels between that couple. And she gets upset when she gets called Becky Hogan, but what does she do? She come back, she got a title match. That's what Hogan would do. It's nothing to do with your personalities. It's to do with what you do when you come back, you get a title match. When a bunch of women have deserved the title match, have deserved the opportunity, and are getting released and moved on and treated like they're nothing. So for me, it's another match that has a sour taste in my mouth. I feel like Becky is a primetime player, but used correctly can be a way for a woman to step up in a SummerSlam, in a Big Four pay-per-view. That's when you put the Becky card out. Have Lyra go through champion after women, different feuds, then get the Becky. Because when she gets to Becky, she's brought up to the level where they can actually compete with each other. Same way I felt about Tiffy versus Charlotte being too early. Lyra versus Becky is too early, and it doesn't give you anything to go off of. Because if Lyra wins, doesn't really do much. For Tiffy to win against Charlotte, didn't do much. Tiffy's still Tiffy. Still not that great on the mic. Still Tiffy time. Still do not care. Lyra, same thing. Still be the lady with the wings. Still will not care as much after this match because she hasn't been built up properly for me to give a damn about her. But Agastya, what do you think about this?
I agree with everything except the first part of your monologue over there. I don't think this match is happening too soon. I think it's happening too late. It should have happened at WrestleMania. That's when this match should have happened, because we're talking about Lyra Valkyria as if she's just just won the Intercontinental Championship. No, man, she's held this since January. She's held this championship since January. And what should have been at WrestleMania should have been the changing of the guard. It should have been the mentor and the protege. It should have been Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. Lyra wins. You build her up as the next superstar, as the next Becky Lynch. The same with even someone like Roxanne Perez and Bayley. What happened to Roxanne Perez? She had a historic Royal Rumble appearance. She was unbelievable in the Elimination Chamber. She was in the Elimination Chamber picture, and then she disappeared, and she never came back. Where did she go? She had heat. There was tension. There was animosity. There was a feud building up between her and Bayley, and they also had chemistry in ring and outside the ring as well. That should have also been a match at WrestleManias, and that could have also been the passing of the torch of Bayley to Roxanne Perez. But no, missed opportunities again. So I agree with you. Now I'll just add on to what you said because I don't want to repeat what you said, even though I 100,000 and million% agree with you. I think what I would do with this feud is because we're here, we can't go back. Last time I checked, King, you're not Doctor Strange. I'm not Doctor Strange. I don't have the time stone. I can't go back in time. But what I can do is damage control. And I'm not talking about Dakota Kai or Io Sky. Good pun, though. You got to admit, King.
Yeah, I like
Good
that
pun.
one. I like that one.
On point. That was on point. Hell yeah. But what I would do is I would have Becky Lynch be a ruthless motherfucker and beat Lyra Valkyrie. Hold up, listen, wait. Hear me out completely. Tonight. And then over the next few weeks, I would have Becky Lynch because she's back. And I expect her to be back fully. If she's going to Hogan it, she better be committing it fully. She better not be part-timing it. She better have it all the gas in the tank. If she is the man after all, I would have her ruthlessly beat a bunch of the mid-carders, maybe even the upper mid-card as well, some open challenges as well. Just beat the shit out of everyone, injure people. And then again, Lyra Valkyrie at the next pay-per-view, she comes back. Becky Lynch injures her at the end of this match, maybe kayfabe-wise injures her. Lyra Valkyrie comes back before the next pay-per-view. They fight again. This time, Lyra Valkyria beats Becky Lynch. However, Bayley sort of interferes in the match and kind of helps Lyra Valkyrie win. That kind of pisses Lyra Valkyria off. And she's like, hang on a minute. I want to prove that I can do it myself. I am the one and only Lyra Valkyria. I just want to be like my idol Becky Lynch before she turned rogue. So then in the following pay-per-view, I would have Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch versus Bayley in a triple threat match. And then I would have Lyra Valkyrie beat them in a triple threat match. You can even do a last man standing triple threat match if you want. But in that way, not only do you elevate the Intercontinental Championship, which is dead, which is beyond dead, it is a skeleton under the water, it is deeper than the Titanic, but you also build Lyra Valkyria as a superstar. And then you elevate that Intercontinental title to not only, with these open challenges with Becky Lynch, have the potentiality of bringing people up from NXT, for example, like Jada Parker, for example, like Stephanie Vaquer, for example. And you could even bring people like Io Sky or Rhea Ripley involved for a SummerSlam match as well. Because, King, one thing where I think I would say I differ from you is, and I know we spoke about this on chat, I think those mid-card titles should be could be contested by some of the top dogs if they have no programs, because that's how you revitalize prestige. The same with the World Heavyweight Championship. I know it's the second title, but I think they should be contested by these big names, because that's how you reinstall its heritage and its history, and you create legacy and legend with it. So that's what I would do with Lyra and Becky now that we're at that feud, because hey, maybe, as you said, King, I agree with you. I'm on your side. I haven't seen enough of Lyra Valkyrie to show me that, hey, she can be the next female superstar. But WWE certainly sees something in her. Becky Lynch certainly sees something in her. Bayley certainly sees something in her. That's why they're feuding with her. And she is good in ring as well. We have seen she can have some good matches. So I think that's the 3-match program where Becky beats the shit out of Lyra. Becky injures her kayfabe-wise. Becky has a couple open challenges, brings someone up from NXT. And then before the next pay-per-view, Money in the Bank, Lyra Valkyrie comes back. She wants her rematch. At Money in the Bank, Lyra Valkyrie beats Becky Lynch, but with some help from Bayley unintentionally without being asked, because Bayley wants revenge and saves Lyra from Becky, who's cheating and, trying to go rogue to retain her championship. But Lyra beats her at Money in the Bank. And then at the following pay-per-view, which I think... I don't know what it is. It's not SummerSlam. You would have a triple threat match between Lyra, Bayley, and Becky, where tension is high. There is length. There is depth. but Lyra wins, and she is the superstar of that division and also can elevate her and that title.
It is. It is. The next pay-per-view is Money in the Bank, and then obviously there's a Saturday night main event in between, but then it's Money in the Bank and then SummerSlam. So those are the next two.
Correct me, I don't want to interrupt, but I have heard reports that there is going to be a pay-per-view in between. They just haven't decided what.
What between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam?
That's what I've heard, yep.
There's a Saturday night main event in between it, but I don't know if there's going to do anything else. So, the problem with Saturday night main events is I don't know if they're canon pay-per-views because sometimes they just put matches on. They don't actually.
They're glorified house shows. That's what they are, King.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But main event time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you start off with this match in terms of how you felt about this John Cena versus Randy match. And then I'll finish it off, and then that will be us for today.
John Cena versus Randy Orton. John Cena, the face that ran the place for nearly 2 decades, the man synonymous with the WWE, the man with the most Make-A-Wish awards in human history, not just in WWE history, the man with the record amount of WWE championships, Randy Orton, the most deadly finisher, the most universal finisher, the finisher that you don't have to be a WWE fan to know. You don't have to be a sports fan to know. You just need to be a human, and you would have likely heard of the RKO. The rivalry that, the two superstars that defined their generation, the Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, the Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, the Undertaker versus Kane. This match for its last time, as King, you said when you opened the show here, we should be up in our feet. We should be counting down the minutes, the seconds, the hours to it. We should be excited. We should be empowered. We should be inspired. We should be emboldened for this. Instead, as you said, I don't even know if I'll get up for it. There is no hype. And I think a lot of that, yes, we can talk about timing and timing not being there. It's only been 2 weeks to build this feud, but the feud writes itself. 17 years of history, Cena heel, face Orton. You don't even need to build a story. You can, it would be much better. But a match like this doesn't need to be built a story. I think the root of the problem is, and it goes back to the main event of WrestleMania, WWE is too corporatized. WWE has been captured by corporations and sponsors, and they've prioritized that, as Karrion Kross said, over competitive talent. I mean, you even just look at the ring itself. There are myriad, a host of sponsors in the ring. I don't think that would have ever, correct me if I'm wrong, King, I don't think that would have ever happened with Vince. There was a period where I stopped watching a bit during the dark ages of WWE until Roman and the Bloodline resurrected the company, but I don't think Vince would have ever done that. I don't think Vince would have ever sold out like that. So WWE has been so commercialized. And it just goes down to the WrestleMania main event, which I told King, among all the WrestleMania main events that I've watched, so this is just over from, let's just say, around from Cena Rock that time. I think this Cena versus Cody Rhodes, to me, was the worst WrestleMania main event I've ever watched. And that's saying something, because I've watched Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. That Roman was booed out of the place and The Undertaker was beyond finished, and finished was an understatement. He himself admitted that. I think it was the worst main event ever, because one, the story wasn't developed. Second, this is John Cena's final ever WrestleMania. Third, this is John Cena as a heel, the one character arc that everyone in human history who watched the WWE wanted to see. But everything about it, everything about the feud, after John Cena's heel turn at Backlash, which was the epitome, I think, of a perfect segment. No character development whatsoever. Nothing. It was just, I hate the fans, you made me turn heel, and I'm going to destroy wrestling. Okay, fine. And then he has his match at WrestleMania. It was a bad match. It was an awful match. It was awkward. It was sluggish. It was slow. The ending was ridiculous. It was a slap in the face to have Travis Scott come out, and then to make Cody, last year, you built him up as the next guy. He spent 2 decades trying to finish the story. We had the Avengers Endgame of the WWE. Cody Rhodes looked like a ruthless face who was willing to do whatever it takes to win. He looked like a coward. He looked like a naive and gullible coward. So you ruined Cody Rhodes' arc. And then on top of that, what happened is you ruined Cody Rhodes' reign indirectly as well. Because the whole point with Cody Rhodes' reign, and sorry, I'll just be quick on this with the Cena stuff, but I have to mention it because I haven't since I've been absent on the show. That feud also unironically ruined Cody's reign. Because after Raw, after WrestleMania last year, The Rock and Cody was the first segment. And The Rock said, I'm coming for your championship. So every feud after, whether it was the feud with AJ Styles, the feud with the Baby Bloodline, the feud with Kevin Owens, as much as some of those matches were good, the stories were underwhelming, but the matches were okay. The back of our mind, we could never really commit and actually enjoy. And as Triple H said, be a fan for those feuds because we were always waiting for the final boss to finally intervene and interrupt and that confrontation to happen. But it never happened. But then the heel turn happened at Elimination Chamber. And then you would have thought, okay, because the whole thread of the feud is tied by the final boss. He is the thread. He is the glue that holds everything together. Nothing. He disappeared. Gone. So Cena's heel turn was basically a waste. It was the most important plot point wasn't even discussed. Cena's looked like a coward. And then on top of that, I just want to say to all the fans that say that, hey, the reason Cena isn't putting on good wrestling matches is because he said he's not giving you much. Well, that's completely hypocritical when he's changing merchandise every single show. That makes absolutely no sense. If he's not giving you much, why is he changing merch every single show? So he's inherently contradictory. So what I want to say on this match here, King, is, and I'm sure we'll talk about Cena's heel turn in a different episode, different time. I think that Cena versus Randy Orton, I don't think it's going to be a tremendous match. I think it won't go longer than 20 minutes. I think it'll be 15 minutes. And I do think that R-Truth, as they've been teasing, and which I have liked, I must say, one of the few things I've liked about it post WrestleMania with his segments with Jimmy Uso, I do think R-Truth will cost Randy Orton and protect Cena. I don't think they'll go the Travis Scott route. Maybe they do another celebrity, but it will be R-Truth, and Cena will retain his championship. That'll be that. Maybe they revisit it at a, I don't know, Saturday Night Main Event. I don't think they will. So at the end of it, I think it'll be 15 minutes. It'll be a little bit underwhelming. And Cena will retain. R-Truth will interfere and help him. But I'm hearing some rumors and reports that Cody Rhodes is in town and Cody Rhodes could interfere, but I hope not. I think Cody deserves a break and should stay out of the scene for a while. So, yeah, just a shambles, really.
Really couldn't say it much better myself. The only thing I probably disagree with is the merch. I think it's genius that he's still trying to make money while ruining wrestling as his thing. So I think it's all part of the game. I think for him, but as in terms of this match, Randy versus Cena, it deserved more. It deserved a bit more time. I know this is St. Louis and this is Randy's hometown, so that's why they did it this way. But they should have had a bit, as I said, the biggest problem is that when you have a pay-per-view so close to WrestleMania, you don't give it enough time to breathe, enough time for you to create a storyline that people can care about. And with these two great characters, they have so much story to tell. And a lot of the time when we've seen them feud, it's been the opposite. Randy Orton's been the sadistic, crazy heel trying to take him out. He tried to take his dad out, tried to attack him, etc., etc. And Cena's been the happy, good guy, hustle, loyalty, respect, and it's the complete opposite. And it's something new, it's something fresh, but we haven't been given time to have that freshness. They've had some talks on the mic, but the gist of this match could have been so much more if they were given a couple more weeks to have promo battles to actually get into the nitty gritty of their feuds, of the parallels of their career. Both of them coming from FCW, both of them entering the sport at the same time, having different paths. Cena being a nobody turned into a somebody, having Randy being a third generation superstar. The differences in allowances that Randy got over time to make mistake after mistake and still, be the guy that he is today, and the changes he's made becoming a family man and how that's changed his character over time. And then with Cena, the way he's felt about how people have mocked him, you can't see me, turned that into a whole meme and joke, and how that's turned him into the heel that he is. and the parallels in between that. And for me, I just feel like they haven't given enough time for them to make this more 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 than it is. And with that, it just makes it a match that no one has. We care about it because of the history of those two characters, but we don't care about it in the current terms. If you let's for example, if you're a new fan and you don't know about the feud that they had before, what makes you care? What if you don't understand the history, if you haven't been able to go back and look through the years, and if you weren't even around at the time when them two were on their peak and you're a young fan, what do you know about Cena and Orton's history? You don't. They haven't told you enough. They haven't actually put it into a package or given you the things that is necessary to see that they've been from the ground up all the way up till now. They've been either uh, feuding in the company, out the company, from enemies to friends to enemies, all these different things. Even had matches with each other, tag team matches where they faced the whole Raw locker room, different kinds of matches that they've had over the years, and that none of this is thread into the story. And for me, it's the time. It's the time that they haven't been given, and that would be another factor with the match. I don't think they'll be given enough time for this match to do anything. And and for me, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the match. I do believe that Cena will still come out on top just because I feel like there's more for him. He still has to meet CM Punk. He still has to go against maybe Roman. He still probably has to look at other feuds. And the only thing I'm really upset about this year is that he's probably not going to get a feud with the one guy that he's also been synonymous with in terms of Edge because he's in a different company. So that's not going to happen. But I've, I know it's your hometown, Randy, but I needed little longer. I needed more time. I needed something to hold on to. And I feel like if you don't understand the storylines, if you haven't looked back and watched what they've done for the last 20, 25 years, then you don't care. And that's a lot of this pay-per-view is, do you care enough about these pay-per-view, about these feuds, about these matches? And honestly, no. Unless your favorite character, if unless your favorite superstars in a match, no. And the most compelling thing is the fatal four way, but because I feel like in terms of all these characters on this show, Jacob Fatu for me is the one that's bigger than life. He's the one that you want to watch, you want to see, regardless of what they put him into. But the rest of it just feels like a pay per view that hasn't done enough to be good enough for the people to care about it. And as I said, I'm not watching it live. I'm not staying up 1 in the morning, 12 in the morning to watch it live because it hasn't done enough for me as a fan to want to watch and be there. They be there right there and then. I'm gonna go sleep. I'll watch it the next day because and for me, that's what a pay per view needs to do. It needs to get fans that are in ridiculous time zones to want to stay up and watch it. And this pay per view hasn't done that. But Agastya, any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I think you encapsulated it 100% well. WWE, if you take out the if you just focus on the storylines, there's really no substance. They have been so reliant and bailed out by the high profile superstars. That's it. And Elimination Chamber is case in point of that. We would all think it was 60 chess that Cena heel turn. But as The Rock revealed in interviews, Dwayne Johnson said that was a last minute decision. That was a last minute decision to turn Cena heel and The Rock be there. And the only reason The Rock was present in Toronto was because ticket sales were low and ratings were low. That's what The Rock overtly said. So again, I think at the moment, I'll just say this real quick. King, you're 100% right. And yeah, it's a shame because Cena and Orton in Orton's hometown, the story writes itself and it could have been developed so much. But I don't even trust the company to execute the Cena heel turn. So in a way, it's a blessing in disguise that we're not getting people like Edge involved because I don't even trust them to have a proper conclusion to the story. It's almost like Star Wars in a way where you don't want the 7th, 8th, and 9th episode to be canon to the rest of Star Wars. So I think it's a tragedy. But just keep an eye out for what happens in WWE and TKO over the next few months because there is a lot of internal talk between Triple H, The Rock, Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, a lot of them having dispute in TKO. Just some rumors. no substance, but just some speculation that, hey, Triple H is doing it with two hands behind his back. Although I would also, again, as much as I have a lot of respect for Triple H for what he produced at WrestleMania 40, which was a masterstroke, one of the best road to WrestleManias ever, if not maybe even the best. Triple H, I think, has been a little bit, and it's not our place to say, but King, I have to say, he's been a little bit arrogant, because have you seen his response to fans whenever they criticize him? He
Yeah,
has completely isolated them. He has disrespected them. He's mocked them. And at the end of the day, the fans are the ones that pay the tickets. They are the ones that fund your companies. They are the ones that, pay merchandise. So Triple H has not been a good leader in a way, because one of the number one traits of a leader is someone who can accept accountability and reciprocate responsibility. Triple H has no longer done that. And I know Triple H in the past would have done that. Triple H and NXT would have done that. So something has happened in closed doors that it could escalate. And as we've seen a lot of releases, people like Dakota Kai and Braun Strowman leaving the company. So just keep an eye out for that. But apart from that, King, you're 100% right. Backlash will be, I think, it'll be a 6 out of 10 pay-per-view. Fatal 4-Way will steal the show. Dominic Mysterio will once again prove his worth as an Intercontinental Championship. Lyra Becky will be interesting. I hope my forecast for that feud does happen. Cena will beat Orton because of an R-Truth interference. And Gunther, unfortunately, King, I hate it for you, but I think Goldberg is going to interfere in that match some way, somehow. But Pat McAfee will get some spots. So see you then. See you after.
yeah, definitely. We'll definitely review it after the fact. Probably even after the Raw, maybe as well. Two things I think for me in terms of this TKO WWE era. One I would say is I need them to reduce these prices of these tickets because it's ridiculous. And the second thing I will say for Triple H, the greatest things you did in wrestling were NXT takeovers. That's the type of pay-per-view mindset you need to be in WWE. Make pay-per-views for the fans, for the hardcore fans, and the rest will follow. The rest will join in. Don't try and if you try and please everybody, you're gonna please no one.
Preach.
And that's the issue that WWE is having at the moment, at the core of what it is today. And that's all I got to say about that. But this has been the Backlash preview. We will be here after to see what will happen next. And yeah, not much else to say.
We'll be here for the backlash of Backlash.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next, the Raws
Yep.
and everything, and what happens after. But yeah, as I said, I'm not really looking forward to it too much. So maybe Big Nose, Mr. H, maybe you do something that makes me excited again. But for now, it's been a down period for WWE. And we'll see what happens next. But it's been African King, it's been Agastya, and we're out. Peace.